Hello everyone, my name is Anton Pelcher. I'm an engineer and I've been constructing fish farms for more than 10 years. Today we're going to talk about starting a biofilter. You will learn what it means to start a biofilter at all, what does it take, and how long does it take to start a biofilter, and to make a biofilter successfully operate at your RAS fish farm. So be sure to watch this video to the end. And here we go. Let's start up with how a biofilter treats water and what it treats water from. In many of my videos, I talk about what a biofilter is and how it treats water. By the way, if you are interested to learn more details about the process of biological water treatment, then follow the pop-up link and watch a separate video dedicated to biological water treatment. And today, we will talk exceptionally about its startup. So, briefly, how does a biofilter treat water at a fish farm? When the fish is fed, when fish consume feed, they release ammonium nitrogen into the water, which is composed of ammonium and ammonia. The fact is that ammonia, NH3, is a toxic product. It must be removed from the water. So, the biofilter is designed to remove ammonia from the water of your RAS system. Since RAS farm is a closed circuit, it runs in a closed loop. Ammonia, if it's not removed, will accumulate, and at some point it will just kill all your fish. Therefore, a biofilter is a mandatory equipment unit at any RAS farm. So here we go. How does it treat the water? There are two groups of bacteria in the biofilter. The first is Nitrosomonas, and the second is Nitrobacter. These two groups of bacteria are nitrifying agents. The first group treats ammonium nitrogen to nitrite. That is, they oxidize NH3, NH4 to NO2. The second group of bacteria immediately treats nitrate NO2 to nitrate. Thus, at the output of the biofilter, you get a conditionally non-toxic nitrate, NO3, which is further accumulated in your RAS and is washed out of the system gradually by drum filter washing. Ammonia and nitrites are eutrophic media for bacteria. The very bacteria that treat the water from ammonia, converting it into nitrates, and those bacteria are accumulated on the media in the biofilter. And the media is created specially for this purpose. It serves as a substrate for the fixation of bacteria. So the media multiplies the number of bacteria that inhabit your biofilter and also prevents them from being washed off the biofilter. And here we go. Where do bacteria on the media appear from? This is a pretty common question which I am often asked. I'll tell you, there are several sources of where bacteria come from. Initially, the plastic pellets come from the factory completely empty. There is nothing on the media. And bacteria settle on the media, settle and multiply already in the process of the RAS farm operation. But how do bacteria get there? Option 1. Nitrosomonas simply get from the intestines of fish. The fact that these bacteria are already contained in the fish intestines, and the fish during its vital process releases these bacteria in small quantities into the water. That's why there is what's called a fish biofilter startup, when you put fish in and they gradually release bacteria. These bacteria settle on the media. Media pellets gradually overgrow with bacteria which start to consume ammonia and nitrite from the water of your RAS system. Second option. These bacteria can come from what is called donor media, that is, media from another RAS system. You bring a small amount of media, put it in your biofilter. The bacteria, in the presence of a nutrient medium, begin to gradually multiply and get to other media pellets, which were empty before, and then they cover the entire surface of the biofilter. Well, and the third option. You just buy these bacteria. The fact is that such bacteria can be purchased as a ready-made solution. That is, you buy a special solution, pour it into the biofilter. This solution already contains the bacteria you need. These are three main ways to inhabit your biofilter with bacteria. Well, I haven't encountered any other ways, and if you have encountered any, be sure to write it in the comments. So, how do these bacteria actually get to the media? It's also quite simple. Either from the intestines of the fish, or from other bioburden, or from purchased bacteria. You plant actually this culture in your RAS system, and having nutrients in the water. That is, ammonium nitrogen, the bacteria begin to gradually eat it and multiply. So there you go. Gradually multiplying, the bacteria begin to settle on the media. Generally, they settle on all surfaces of your RAS system. On the walls of the tanks and on the pipelines and of course on the media. Anyway, the maximum amount of them settle on the media. Therefore, they begin to populate the media. Gradually, the bacteria increase their colonies and grow in the biofilter. With enough oxygen, normal temperature, nutrients, there is no reason for the bacteria not to multiply and grow. What conditions are required for the bacteria to grow and multiply as efficiently as possible? That is, what conditions actually need to be provided to start a biofilter? The first is the temperature. The water temperature in your biofilter should be exactly the temperature which you plan to grow fish at. I personally am not in favor of increasing the water temperature to about 30 degrees in order to start the biofilter faster, because the bacteria that will populate the biofilter at 30 degrees will be less adapted to colder water if you then gradually lower the water in the biofilter. Therefore, I'm in favor of starting the biofilter at the water temperature that will later be the temperature of your RAS system. The second is the abundance of oxygen in the water. Bacteria need at least 5 mg of oxygen per liter in order to develop properly. Therefore, your biofilter needs a constant supply of oxygen. For example, aeration, if we're talking about a floating media biofilter. The third is the availability of the bacteria themselves. Thus, they're taken either from fish or from media from another RAS system, or they're purchased and artificially added to your biofilter. The next thing is proper water composition. You need to increase the alkalinity by adding baking soda into the water. This way, especially the second group of bacteria will develop much better. That is, you need to increase the alkalinity to at least 250 mg per liter. Well, the last thing is the presence of nutritive media for the bacteria. Without it, everything will go wrong. For the first group of nitrosomonas, the presence of ammonium nitrogen, NH3, NH4, in the water is essential. And for the second group, Nitrobacter, the presence of nitrate NO2 is indispensable. So with a combination of all these parameters, your biofilter will run as perfectly as possible. How do you start a biofilter? First, you create the necessary conditions that I have just mentioned at the first step. Gradually, the bacteria start to consume ammonia, and after about 5–10 days, the first stage starts. The first stage is the oxidation of ammonia to nitrite. The first group of bacteria starts to work much faster and better. That is, the biofilter initially starts with the first group of bacteria. This group of bacteria starts to consume ammonia and produce nitrite. So the level of ammonia in the water starts to drop, and the level of nitrites starts to increase. At this point, it's imperative that you add ammonia, either with fish or by artificially introducing it. After about 3 to 5 weeks, the second stage begins. So, nitrites have been accumulating in the system before, and then their level starts to stabilize and then fall. This indicates the start of the second stage of the biofilter. Gradually, the nitrites start to decrease in the system, and then, when the biofilter has already accelerated to a good capacity, you can consider that it's launched. When adding any organic matter to the water, either artificially or with fish, ammonia level decreases because it's quickly consumed by bacteria, and also nitrites are removed from the system as they are quickly consumed by bacteria. And then you can consider that the biofilter is launched and running. Next, I will tell you about the most common mistakes and causes of failures when starting the biofilter. The first cause of failure is temperature spikes. Never allow sudden temperature spikes. For example, do not feed cold makeup water or warm water into the system quickly. The biofilter doesn't tolerate that. As soon as you drastically change the temperature, your bacteria will quickly be depressed in growth. Therefore, this is not recommended. Keep a constant, stable temperature in your biofilter. Do not allow fluctuations of more than 1 or 2 degrees. Bright sunlight. The thing is, the bacteria in biofilter don't like light. When you have bright sunlight fall into your biofilter, the biofilter performs much worse. This has been tried and tested in practice, so try to keep your biofilter in the shade. The next is the nutritional status of the bacteria. If you let the bacteria starve, it can have a very bad effect on the operation of your biofilter. Therefore, keep the concentration of ammonia always at least 2 to 3 milligrams, in case you have no fish in the system. Well, or at least 1 milligram in order for the biofilter to start well and qualitatively. In the absence of nutrition, bacteria will not develop well. Oxygen deficiency. If the oxygen content in your biofilter is less than 5 mg per liter, the bacteria will also grow poorly. Therefore, ensure that there is enough oxygen dissolved in the water. The next reason why biofilter may or may not start properly is the presence of suspended solids in the water. As soon as dirt enters your water, other types of bacteria start to cling to the media. These are heterotrophic bacteria, and they just displace beneficial bacteria as they are more aggressive. So make sure your water is clear of suspended solids when starting and running your biofilter. Let's talk about 3 methods of starting a biofilter. The first is probably the most widely used one. I personally prefer this one too. It's chemical method. What does this method presume? Actually, we don't add any chemicals. In reality, we start the biofilter with the help of reagents. So once again, what does this method involve? You artificially add nutrients into the water together with reagents, but not together with fish and feed. You artificially add bacteria that you have purchased. You wait for your biofilter to start up. So, in effect, you add ammonia and nitrites. You add baking soda and bacteria. You create the right conditions for the biofilter, which is water aeration. And so you wait about a month until your biofilter is not fully launched. And stock the system with fish only when the biofilter is fully launched, never during the startup process. Because during the startup process, very high concentrations of ammonia and nitrites are contained in the biofilter. In general, the water is absolutely unsuitable for fish life until the bacteria start to process harmful substances. What are the pros of starting biofilter artificially? The so-called chemical way. The pros are that the biofilter starts up faster than on fish. That's the first thing. And the second, you can't harm your fish. Because when you run the biofilter on fish, you can kill your fish by having high concentrations of pollutants in the water. Thus, until the biofilter is running, you don't have any fish in the system. And as soon as the biofilter is already working perfectly and your water has excellent parameters, that's when you stock the system with fish. The disadvantages are as follows. It presumes at least a month of waiting. Until your biofilter starts, you cannot bring in fish, meaning that you need to postpone your RAS stocking for a month. And now I will tell you how to start the biofilter chemically. It's very important. The amount of chemicals is calculated by the amount of water that will be used when starting the biofilter. For example, if you turn off the biofilter, it stands filled with water. There is aeration. What is not fed from anywhere is not discharged anywhere. Then the volume of water that is in the biofilter is taken into consideration. If you run the biofilter at a fully operating water circulation, then you need to count the entire volume of water that is in your RAS system, including tanks, biofilters and pipelines. So I will give you the universal figures per cubic meter, and you can easily calculate yourself. Well, first things first, creating alkalinity. You need to raise the alkalinity. How do you do that? Easily. Add 250 grams of baking soda per cubic meter of water. Second, you need to raise the concentration of ammonia. Add 300 ml of 10% solution of liquid ammonia. Basically, this is what I do all the time. Ammonia liquid is easy to find. It's pure, it doesn't contain any additional compounds, chemicals and so on. Attention, I'm talking about a 10% solution, not pure ammonia liquid. If you use pure ammonia, then exactly 10 times less, 30 ml per 1 cubic meter of water. By adding ammonia, you create a concentration of ammonium nitrogen in the water, which will feed the first group of bacteria. Next, add sodium nitrite. There are other sources of nitrites, but I recommended using sodium nitrite. It's a yellow-colored powder. Otherwise, its analog is called nitrite salt. It's added in the quantity of 25 grams per 1 cubic meter of water. Which way do you do that? You create a concentration of nitrite so that the second group of bacteria doesn't wait for the first group of bacteria to start producing nitrite, and could immediately start in parallel with the first group of bacteria. And optionally, you can add another 100 grams of feed per cubic meter of water in order to have a source of easily digestible organics. For example, you wrap the feed in some gauzy fabric that allows water to pass through but doesn't let the feed out, so that it doesn't settle in the biofilter. You add 100 grams per cubic meter and drop it into the biofilter with the help of a rope. This way your biofilter, your bacteria, will start functioning even easier. The next thing is to add the bacteria. I won't give a specific amount, because each manufacturer gives his own recommendations, which are usually indicated right on the bottle. So you just take ready-made bacteria, which are sold in specialized stores. As a rule, these are aquarium bacteria or pond bacteria, but the most important thing is that they have cultures. Nitrosomonas, Nitrobacter, Nitrospira is also possible. Don't add other types of bacteria, because they can only spoil the process, so be very careful about the bacteria. Next, it's to measure water parameters on a daily basis. You need to measure the temperature, pH, oxygen content in the water, NH3, NH4 ammonia, NO3 nitrates, and NO2 nitrites on a daily basis. You constantly measure these parameters and see when NH3, NH4, that is total ammonium nitrogen, will slowly start to drop. This will mean that the first stage of your biofilter has started. Keep stable and good conditions for your bacteria, and good conditions presume stable aeration, stable water temperature at which you will grow fish, and minimum light, so keep the biofilter in the shade. Once the first stage of the biofilter is up and running and ammonia starts to drop, don't let it drop below 2 to 3 mg per liter. Always try to keep it between 5 to 10 mg per liter, so that there are always enough nutrients for your nitrophile bacteria. So you monitor the water parameters every day, and as soon as you see that the ammonia concentration has dropped below the value of 5 mg per liter, you start adding ammonia. After probably 3 to 4 weeks, you will notice that nitrite level starts to stabilize and then slowly starts to drop. This means that the second stage of the biofilter launching is in progress. At this point, start increasing the amount of liquid ammonia, which should be added to the system daily by about 5 to 10%. What are we doing and why? We intensify the capacity of the biofilter so that the system can be stocked with fish, and you can calmly feed this fish intensively, and the bacteria are ready to process so much organic matter. So 1 liter of 10% liquid ammonia approximately corresponds to 1 kilogram of feed. Thus, if you want to stock 100 kilograms of fry and feed it 5% per day, that is to add 5 kilograms of feed. Bring the capacity of your biofilter to the point when it handles 5 liters of 10% ammonia solution per day. Then you can safely stock fish and immediately start to feed the fish intensively. If you don't want to do so, you can stock fish, but then start feeding it gradually, slowly, in order that the biofilter has time to adjust to new operation conditions and store up its performance not with the use of artificial raw materials, but on fish. In general, that's all. If your biofilter is launched, you have stocked the system and the indicators are normal, you can be sure that the biofilter operation will be successful. And the second method of starting the biofilter is starting it up on the fish. This method is also often used. What does it presume? Well, instead of pouring reagents and waiting for a month, you immediately stock the system with fish. That is, you have a biofilter with the media, but there are no bacteria in the system. At the same time, you put the fish in and start feeding your fish slowly. What happens? The fish eats, the fish releases into the water. Firstly, the very bacteria that can settle on the media and which will gradually accumulate. And secondly, it releases into the water all the necessary nutrients for these bacteria. As a matter of fact, it's ammonium nitrogen. the ammonium nitrogen also begins to gradually accumulate in the system while the feeding process continues. You have a closed system, the water is not actually lost anywhere and ammonium nitrogen also stays in the system. So bacteria settle on the media, slowly their number also begins to grow, and these bacteria consume ammonia from the water. Then the second stage begins. The consuming of nitrites starts, and so on. Why is this method so admirable? Well, the greatest method pro is that as soon as you fill your system with water, run it dry, nothing leaks, everything works, you can immediately stock the system with fish. Cons. The disadvantages are that the launch on fish may result in losses, because in the process of launching you have a strong spike of ammonia, nitrites, and the fish can simply not withstand it, and you could get either partial withdrawal, waste, or a complete withdrawal. In fact, all the fish can die when you start the biofilter. By the way, often the very first batch of fish which helps to start the biofilter is commonly called doomed fish or suicide bombers by fish farmers. How to start the biofilter on fish? Well, first of all, prepare a system and make sure that all water treatment units operate as well as pumps. Well, in general, that water circulation functions as it should, everything except for the biofilter. Turn on the aeration of the biofilter. Provide a full water circulation through your system. It's not necessary to run the pumps at full speed and capacity at the very beginning. It's enough to start them at some percentage of their capacity, if you have frequency converters. Next, you stock the system with a small batch of fish, at most 10% of what you are supposed to stock. But it's not recommended to stock fry, because fry is very sensitive, delicate. You can easily kill it when you start the biofilter. Therefore, it's recommended to stock a bigger fish, at least 100 to 200 grams. However, ideally, it should grow out fish, because grow out fish is maximally resistant to any problems. I will say right away for those who like to start a biofilter on carp. I've heard a lot of such stories because carp is very tolerant fish. Where is carp caught from? As a rule, from the ponds. That is, you take the fish from the ponds, which you will certainly not be sorry to lose in the future. But it has parasites, it has all sorts of infection, and you run the risk of infecting all your fish with what was brought to your system by carp. That's why it's not recommended to do that. Take fish from rest system for stocking, the fish that you plan to grow further. And let's move on. You feed the fish. Gradually the concentration of ammonium nitrogen starts to increase. Keep its level within 2 to 3 mg per liter. On the one hand, this is not too little so that the bacteria at least have something to eat. On the other hand, it's not too much so that you don't risk to lose all your fish. Gradually, after about 2 weeks, the ammonia concentration will start to drop. This means that the first stage of the biofilter has started, and then the nitrites will start to accumulate. This is the most difficult stage, because it's easier for fish to withstand ammonia than nitrites. And when nitrites begin to accumulate, be very careful and add salt to the water. Add salt at a rate of about 300 grams per 1 cubic meter of water. You need to do that in order to minimize nitrite toxicity, because the salt blocks the toxicity of nitrite. So feed the fish, add salt, and wait for your biofilter to fully start up. As a rule, the process of starting the biofilter on fish can take more time than starting it artificially, using the previous method. It usually takes a month and a half. When nitrites finally start to fall, congratulations! Your biofilter is up and running. You can slowly increase feeding and plan to stock the system with the main batch. And there is the third way. I will not talk about it in detail, because it's starting up biofilter using media from another farm. Basically, you take the media already covered with bacteria from another fish farm, and then you follow one of two ways. Either you add additional reagents, or you run the biofilter on fish. So, in fact, this method is used in combination with the other two methods. How do you understand that the biofilter is up and running? It's quite simple. If the concentration of ammonia and nitrite in your biofilter is less than 1, and preferably less than 0.5, while you also feed the fish or you add ammonia, that means the biofilter is working. It is time to consume all the pollutants. And by the way, as usual, I have a bonus for you. Following the link in the description, you can download a file in which you enter the initial data and get the calculation of reagents for artificial start of your biofilter. In other words, it's actually your assistant for starting your RAS farm biofilter. And I guess this is it. I hope you found this video useful. If so, press the like button. Subscribe to my channel. It's Anton Pelcher and my channel on how to grow fish and make good money on it. Bye.